The next chapter is God deliver us if not says. David's life begins to illustrate the nature of God's protective guidance and how trials can shape our faith. Psalms 18 to 20 were written by David as psalms of praise following a period of great struggle. Pursued by King Saul, David was once fleeing for his life, and accordingly, many psalms voice David's petitions and pleas for protection. God faithfully answers these prayers and delivers David from the threat of his enemies. Here in Psalms 18 to 20, David joyfully celebrates and gives thanks, presenting us with the dual aspects of divine deliverance, God's invitation and God's pursuit. Psalms 18 reminds us that God delights in our prayers and invites us to draw close. David recounts his cries to God and rejoices in God's faithfulness. In my distance I called to the Lord, I cried to my God for help from his temple. He heard my voice, my cry came before him into his ears. The Psalms outlines a personal relationship with God, whereas God is not only a refuge but also an active deliverer responding to our calls for help. David's experience assures us that God is with us and that God's deliverance is not a distant hope but a present reality. This is an affirmation further illustrated in Matthew 19 as Jesus invites a group of children, the most vulnerable and dependent among us, to draw near. God offers open across the protective and responsive care. In addition to this invitation to dwell in proximity, Psalm 20 points a picture of a God who actively pursues us in moments of turmoil and tribulation. God acts benevolently on our behalf. David writes of the myriad of ways the Lord reaches out to us, protecting us in times of duress as a force more powerful and dependable than chariots or horses. This image of the God who pursues us is reflected in the parable of the lost sheep, in which the good sheep shepherd goes after the single sheep who is lost, conveying God's unwavering pursuit of each individual. God is not a passive deity, but rather a dynamic force in our lives, seeking us out in moments of distress and offering redemption. God is tirelessly and presently working for our deliverance. As theologian Philip Yancey remarks, grace, like water, flows downwards. No matter how long we sink, grace flows to that lowest part. Embracing God's deliverance means recognising both aspects of God's divine intervention, the invitation and the pursuit. In the dark and difficult moments of our lives, we can turn to our Creator, bringing our warriors, our worries and questions and hopes to God, resolute in the knowledge that our cries are heard and will be answered. Even in the spaces where we feel unable to reach out, God is still there, ready to deliver us and delight in us. As we reflect on this week's readings, let us ponder our own relationship with God by understanding that the Lord is at work in our lives. May we find comfort, assurance and strength in facing our trials, knowing God's deliverance is at hand now and always. Amen. Now it's time to reflect with a few questions. When have you experienced God's deliverance in the past, and how did God protect you then? And how might God be intervening on your behalf now? Psalm 18 references the Lord's righteous anger. Does this challenge how you typically perceive God? Psalm 19 discusses how the earth and the heavens declare the glory of God, how his nature revealed God's grace and intentionally to you. And with a short prayer, I'm ending the chapter today. God who delivers, help us find refuge in you, empower us to trust in your boundless power as we journey through trials. Amen. Thanks for listening.